I lost the bid because the seller didn't like me. My future partner will make me happy. Or my company failed to make money because of the economy. All examples of cases where we blame others instead of taking responsibility. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erkka Suvanto. Some of you call me EJ. I'm the guy on social media who wants to build a legacy and pass on all the life and business lessons to each and every one of you. I'm a business owner and a real estate investor. Today I wanted to talk about accountability and insecurity because they are tightly linked together. The examples I just gave in my intro are something that you hear in today's society, unfortunately, way too often. People seem to have this idea, misconception, that something or someone's going to make me happy. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We all seem to understand the need for improvement because self-improvement business is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry annually. People want to get better because deep insecurity, which comes from lack of accountability, which means when we blame others, leads to envy, jealousy, and ultimately unhappiness. So if people are unhappy in today's society, we look for help, which is the good thing. There are plenty of therapists, coaches, gurus, materials, courses, books out there how to get better, how to make your life worthwhile, so to say. The problem typically is that these very same people who understand the need for improvement, they are the ones who miss the very first step. And the very first step is like understanding when you arrive at your vacation destination, you get that rental car and you try to get the destination or the driving directions to your final destination, which is, for instance, your hotel. But you won't get the driving directions if you don't have your location finder on. You forgot to turn the GPS on and your mobile data is not switched on either. It's the same thing when we personally don't have self-awareness. Because to me, the first step always in self-improvement is to understand who I am and where I come from. Without self-awareness, that's impossible. Then the next question is, how do I become self-aware? What I have personally done is that I have practiced being alone intentionally, in silence, thinking, writing down my thoughts, journaling, and facing my fears, facing my past, my experiences, and my trauma, because we all have those. But without that, we are not accountable. And ultimately, accountability is the same as owning my own future. But make no mistake, accountability doesn't mean that we blame ourselves. It means that we take full responsibility for the wins and for the losses, which both are an equally important part of life. It's more about creating my own story, my own version of the future, rather than relying on somebody else's version of it. So this is what it boils down to. So if we label today's conversation under accountability, so to me, it's ultimately having ownership. I own my own future. I create my own story. Create my story. What happens when I'm 95? I'm in that retirement home. Do I want people to remember me by my good intentions or my strong actions? What's my eulogy going to say? What are my kids going to say at my funeral? I would like them to say that I was the type of person who took action, who fell down twice but got up 3 times, did plenty of stuff, made mistakes, had some wins, had some losses too. Or would I want my kids to say that our dad was the type of guy who had lots of dreams, lots of ideas, but never executed, never carried out any of his plans? I would like to be remembered as the person who took action. So to me, owning my own future is everything. Being able to be in control and create my own version of the future. And again, it's not about blaming anybody. Some people have given me feedback that I'm overly critical of myself. That don't be so hard on yourself. But to me, it's the same as being very, very self-aware. I've spent thousands of hours in my own head understanding who I am and where I come from. I'm willing to share everything. And this is, by the way, also something that people tell me, that you don't need to reveal everything. Don't tell people what your insecurities are. But I completely disagree, 100%. To me, it's all about being authentic. If I want people to trust me, and maybe this hobby of mine turns into something real, like a business, doing a reset and starting a new business, then I need to be authentic from the get-go. And people need to understand who I am. The same way you guys out there need to understand who you are. And if you're not self-aware, you're missing the critical first step, because the driving directions won't help if we don't understand where we start. Okay, so if the sequence is roughly this, that we create our own story, and then we start working backwards from there. This is the whole idea. Okay, so then we work backwards. What does that mean? We take action. Sorry. And then we need patience. This is my today's simple formula. No more pages, no more writing. Create my own story, work backwards from there, take massive action, and have patience. Okay, here comes the critical part. I think people understand this. This is the same as visualizing your goals, being very outcome driven, for instance, or even having those daily goals. And this is, by the way, a topic I introduced in my previous video, so please watch that if you're interested in understanding what I mean by being outcome driven or defining the daily goals and letting those define how good you are. That's a separate discussion. Okay, so then we work backwards and we take action. And these two are the hard parts for people, having patience and taking action. And why is taking action so hard? My theory is this, and I can give some personal examples too to back this up. My theory is that we let fears, whether it's fear of losing, fear of other people's opinion, fear of losing face overall, wins or losses, determine whether we take those actions or not. I was on the same boat. If you think about this social media thing of mine, I was nowhere to be seen. Nobody knew my name. Nobody had seen my face in social media. That was intentional on my part because I had some, call them fears. I didn't want to be judged by others. I didn't want other people to be critical of me. I wasn't comfortable potentially the way I looked in front of a camera and all kinds of silly things, right? When I started doing them, they just vanished. Of course, I still feel anxious. I have anxieties when I have videos coming up. I don't really know what to talk about and I need to prep and I need to do all kinds of stuff, but that's normal. That's just part of the process. So the thing is that if we let our feelings determine whether we take action or not, we never do. And I've used this example before, I will say it again. If I was a client, I hired a personal trainer and he or she gave me my first workout program. And that told me to wake up at 5 and go for a run. Never done that before. Waking up at 5 or going for a run. What would my feelings tell me? Don't go. It's cold, it's dark, it's winter, it's scary. If you think about evolution, not going, playing it safe, being in our comfort zone has served us well because that kept us alive in the past, if you go way back. So we still have those same instincts. So, but what happens if we go anyhow? We ignore the feelings, we go for a run. 45 minutes later, we come back, take a shower, we feel like $1 million. We can cure cancer with that feeling, if you will. The same exact thing. We took action and the right feelings will follow. It's the same thing here. This is the formula I follow. I sometimes have to force myself to face those fears. And I have to give credit to myself, pretty good at it. This has been kind of natural to me, to face fears and reset, go towards the unknown and not playing it safe. I've had other difficulties I had to work on harder than that. So if we can get rid of that fear of other people's opinions, and we understand that the feelings can determine whether we take action or not, we're always already halfway there. And then doing the self-awareness exercise of spending some time alone, thinking, writing stuff down, and facing those fears, those past experiences, understanding who we are. That's a huge starting point for us. Regarding personal experience again, what has helped me a lot, I've studied quite a bit, I read some books, but my absolute favorite is a therapist called Phil Stutz. There's a Netflix documentary, if you want to get started with that, actually pretty good. It was produced and directed by Jonah Hill, where he's interviewing his own therapist, who's Phil. And Phil and Jonah have a conversation there. And I actually came across that documentary and bought all his books, and I've studied his theories quite a bit. And he talks about stuff like this shadow thing in our lives, meaning our own shadow is the one that's determining in many cases whether we take action or not, and we kind of get many of our decisions, many of the opinions validated by that own shadow of ours. And he's also saying that, which is a phenomenal quote, by the way, that if you always, when you crave the approval of others, you give the power to them over you. And that's what this is all about, owning our own future and not giving the power to anybody else but ourselves. So we came a long way from accountability, deep insecurity, to taking action, facing fears. But to me, this is all related. Deep insecurity is a huge thing in today's society. And the symptoms are the ones I mentioned at the beginning, where people blame others. It's always somebody who's going to make me happy. It's always somebody else's fault when I failed to make money, or whatever I wanted to achieve was in the beginning. But we need to stop that. And the way we do that, step number one, is to be self-aware. Remember that navigation example. If you don't have your location finder on, you can't get the directions to your hotel. Thanks for watching. That's all for today regarding this topic. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to my channel and like. And again, all comments are welcome. I'll see you next time.